Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. In today's video we have my Game Week 31 team selection and we'll discuss the latest news around Luke Shaw, Marcus Rashford and what I plan on doing with my team. If you're enjoying the content here on this channel, please do remember to like, comment and subscribe. But without further ado, let's jump into it. So guys, we're wasting absolutely no time at all today, jumping straight into the Game Week 31 team selection. I have 0.5 million in the bank and one free transfer. I'm pretty sure I know what I'm doing with that free transfer, but we'll discuss that throughout the video, and I'll confirm that on tomorrow's deadline stream, 2 hours before the deadline. As always, I'll be there streaming with you. So starting with the goalkeeper situation, Raya and Kepa. I think for a few reasons this week, I would like to start Raya. Firstly, the fixture is better. I think Wolves away is a much better fixture than Brighton at home. I also think Brentford's defensive data hasn't been terrible. They've been unlucky to lose a few clean sheets in recent weeks. Raya makes a lot of saves, we know this. So I like Raya as an option. And I'm also worried about Kepa. I think Brighton at home is not a good fixture. I think Brighton have over the last 6 away games, they are top of the league for chances created. They don't always finish those chances, but they create so many chances that I think they will score against Chelsea. Chelsea's defensive data hasn't been fantastic in recent weeks. And also there's a chance that Kepa gets dropped. I guess that wouldn't then matter if I started Kepa, but Lampard did hint towards the fact that he could change the keepers at some point. So for those reasons, and also because I have Chilwell, I'm currently planning on starting Raya. That being said, I'm not even particularly happy starting Chilwell. And I'm looking at Botman and Estepinian on my bench and thinking they could both be better options to start instead of Chilwell. If Chilwell wasn't on corners, some free kicks and very, very attacking, when he starts, of course, then I would easily bench him because I think Brighton will score. I've got 2 Brighton attackers in my starting 11. The issue with Chilwell is he is really, really attacking. He is on set pieces. And if they can get a clean sheet, he has it in his locker to get that 12, 15 points. We know how attacking he can be. I don't even know if Chilwell's going to start, though. I don't know what's going on with Lampard's decision-making there. Obviously, he got sent off in the Champions League as well. I don't think he'll be punished for that. Lampard seemed to hint towards the fact that Chilwell was incredibly important for them. I guess he would say that in a press conference. He's not going to say that he hates Chilwell. But I'm not 100% sure that Chilwell starts. He might want to get his team a little bit of rhythm before the second leg, in which case Chilwell wouldn't. So I'm not overly keen on carrying Chilwell forward, and I'm not overly keen on starting Chilwell this week. I just think that Aston Villa will probably score, so I don't think I want to double up on the Newcastle defence. And whilst Brighton are decent defensively, and whilst I do think Estepinian carries some attacking threat too, I'm not overly convinced that Estepinian's a better option than Chilwell. So at the moment, Chilwell gets a start. I'm not overly happy with that. And like I said, I do love Trippier. I will continue to start and own Trippier, but I don't think Aston Villa away at the moment is a great fixture either. Emery has turned Aston Villa into a brilliant unit. Ollie Watkins is scoring goals for fun. I own Ollie Watkins myself, so I'm not delighted about starting Trippier either. And then that brings me on to Luke Shaw, who, if he's fit, I will be happy to start Luke Shaw. However, the latest press conference news is that he could, I think Ten Hag was asked about McTominay and Shaw, and he basically said they could be available for Sunday. So Luke Shaw could be available for Game Week 31, in which case I'm definitely not selling him because he's got double Game Week 34. It's just whether I want to start him and risk a potential cameo. But I think if Shaw's fit, he'll start. If he's not fit, I don't think he'll get a cameo off the bench. And even if he does get a cameo off the bench, I don't particularly like the other options I've got to choose from this week anyway. So that's something to consider. And the other thing to consider is even if Luke Shaw does start, it looks like Varane and Martinez will both be injured for Game Week 31. So even if Shaw starts, he's probably starting in a very weak defence, which includes probably Lindelof and Harry Maguire. So the chances of a clean sheet for Manchester United probably aren't that high. But if Shaw is fit and he can start, I do prefer him to Botman and Estepinian. So it's a bit of a mess at the moment, the defence. But moving forward, I'm happy because Botman and Trippier have a double game week, probably in Game Week 36. Estepinian has a double in 34, 36 and 37. And Luke Shaw has a double in 34 and 37 too. So I'm happy with the defence long term, but at the moment, I've just got a few issues with them this week. So that's the defence. Let's move on to the midfield. So moving on to the midfield, and we'll start with Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes has been playing very deep recently, and it is definitely not ideal. He is not worth anywhere near the amount of money we're paying for him here if he is playing in that deep role. And unfortunately, it looks like unless both Casemiro and Eriksen start, it looks like Fernandes will play deeper than we would want him to be playing. However, I think when Casemiro and Eriksen do start, I would be extremely shocked if Fernandes doesn't go back to that number 10 role. The issue we've got is Eriksen will not be rushed back, and Eriksen can't continue to play the amount of games that he was earlier on in the season. That's why he got injured. Well, it wasn't why he got injured, but I think it was inevitable that he was going to pick up an injury at some point. He's just not I don't think in the condition to start games in quick succession, especially when he's just coming back from injury. So what we're left with is, unless those two start, Fernandes is going to be playing a deeper role, which definitely isn't ideal. The other issue we've got is Fernandes is now suspended for the second leg of the Europa League for Manchester United. That means, in my opinion, that Eriksen will be absolutely crucial to that second leg. As a result, maybe Eriksen's minutes in the Premier League on Sunday might be reduced slightly just to keep him fresh for the second leg of the Europa League. That could mean that he starts and plays 50 or 60, or it could mean he comes off the bench. I think I'm still fine holding Fernandes just because I still think he's a great option for 34, because hopefully by then Eriksen has built up his fitness a little bit and Eriksen and Casemiro are starting on a more regular basis and Fernandes will start probably ahead of him at that point. So it's not ideal. He's definitely probably not worth buying at the moment. However, do reassess that come game week 34, because as soon as he goes back to that 10 role, we've seen all season, his data's really strong. He's on some set pieces as well. And he's on penalties, and it's a really nice double in 34. So I'm happy holding Fernandes. But if you are looking to move Fernandes on, I don't hate it. If Fernandes does continue to play deep, maybe even once Eriksen comes back, if he still looks a little bit deep and we're not particularly impressed, then I'll be getting Salah in that position. And I don't necessarily hate that. That would give me a route to Salah, which at the moment I don't particularly have. So that's the situation with Fernandes. Then I've got my two Brighton midfielders. The benefit of Rashford being injured this week, obviously I don't want him to be as a Manchester United fan and as an FPL manager. The benefit, though, is that it means I don't have to bench Mitoma, because I was benching Mitoma once again. People seem to hate it when I bench Mitoma. I don't particularly like it either. But this does mean that unless I take out Rashford and Maddison, which I'm probably not going to do, I can start both McAllister and Mitoma. And as I said with the Chilwell and Kepa section, I'm expecting Brighton to score goals in this game, or at least create the chances to score goals. So I'm very happy having McAllister and Mitoma in those spots there. I have absolutely no issue. If you need to start your Brighton mids with the difficult fixtures, go for it. They are a team that is probably a Europa League team at the bare minimum at the moment. They're creating chances. They just need someone to score them, and they need to improve their finishing outside of Mitoma. McAllister, March, Welbeck, Ferguson, they do pass up a lot of opportunities. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that McAllister and Mitoma, despite what looks like a tricky fixture on paper, actually deliver some points this week. Which brings me on to the fifth and final midfielder, which is James Maddison. And at the moment, the plan is to sell James Maddison and keep Marcus Rashford. Maddison actually has some really good fixtures from game week 32 to 36, but he's had some decent fixtures in recent weeks too. We spoke about the double in 29. He's just not been performing, and Leicester haven't been performing, and there's only so long you can hold on to a player, especially with the fixture this week and needing probably a midfielder for this week, and there being other good options. I think this is the week that Maddison makes way in my team. The reason that I'm not selling Rashford is because I'm free hitting next week, and in 33, I don't actually need Rashford. I have some other players that I can play instead. So I don't actually need Marcus Rashford until game week 34. Ten Hag has said that there is a chance, he only said a chance that he's back for the Sevilla game, and then Manchester United playing game week 33 a week after the Sevilla game, or the second leg of the Sevilla game. So I think there's a very reasonable chance Marcus Rashford's back for 34, and if he's for 33, and if he's not back for 33, I think there's an even more reasonable chance that he's fit for game week 34. And so for me at the moment, because I think there's a good chance I would want him back in anyway for 34 if I sell him, I'm currently planning on keeping him. And because I've got Maddison in my team, it gives me a really nice route to what will probably be Jack Grealish, which I know a lot of FPL managers are looking to bring in. And for those of you that maybe have like Ødegaard, Martinelli or Saka in that Maddison spot, it's a lot trickier for you because you won't want to sell your Arsenal midfielder, but you don't have another route to get to Grealish other than selling either the Arsenal mid or Marcus Rashford. So if you're in that position, maybe it makes it a little bit more tempting to sell Marcus Rashford. But for me, I have no need to sell Shaw and Rashford this week. If both of them are out, I can play Botman, and I don't need Rashford anyway. He's on my bench. So I don't need the two Man United assets this week. Free hitting next week. So the earliest I'll need him back in is in a couple of weeks in game week 33. So that's the current plan there. And we'll discuss in the final section if there are any other alternatives to Maddison. But at the moment, it looks very, very likely to be Jack Grealish. So the three forwards should be nice and quick this week. Watkins, Haaland and Kane. If I was wildcarding this week, I would be tempted to drop one or both of Watkins and Kane. They've obviously got no doubles now for the remainder of the season, but they are two players that are on penalty, scoring goals with good data and performing well. So I guess they're assets that I wouldn't mind selling on a wildcard, but I also am absolutely happy owning this week. As I said in the Trippier and Botman sort of section, I do think there's a good chance that Villa score this week, and you would expect Watkins to be involved. Decent home fixture there, and Kane's got a really good fixture as well. Bournemouth have been improving recently, and Spurs have been a bit stinky, so I'm not necessarily expecting Spurs to go out and score 5, 6, 7 goals here, but I do think that they should win this game comfortably, you would expect. Not comfortably enough for me to consider captaincy, though. For me, this is the easiest captaincy decision I've had in a long time. And it removes some stress because I feel like recently it's been pretty stressful choosing captaincy. There have been so many 50-50 calls. This week, it's an easy decision. Captain Haaland against Leicester. I haven't even considered another option for half a second. So for me, nice and simple, Haaland captain. And for now, the front three isn't going to be changing. There is a chance that in Game Week 33 or Game Week 34, I sell one or both of Watkins and Kane for potentially a double game week striker, or just a striker that I prefer slightly more, because the fixtures aren't bad for Villa and Spurs, but like I said, no more doubles this season. And I think there might be some opportunities to go slightly different in the next few weeks. But I'm very, very happy with 3 home fixtures, 3 penalty takers, 3 talisman in their team for game week 31. That's the team. Around that Maddison spot, I'll do a little bit of a discussion around it here. The reason that I like Grealish is I think he started something like 11 Premier League games in a row now. He's very, very nailed on that left. Yes, I know that Foden is going to be back very soon. Probably not quite for 31, although I think there's a small chance. But probably for 33, he'll be back. I still think that Grealish is first choice left wing, even when Foden has been fit. I still feel like Grealish is slightly ahead in the pecking order. I also feel like Foden might end up going out onto the right. We haven't actually seen that a lot under Pep, despite the fact that Foden always seems to play very well on the right. The reason I know this is because Foden played on the right wing when City beat us 6-3, was it? And Foden scored a hat-trick. He started on the right wing that game. I know how good he can be. I think he played against Liverpool and Arsenal on the right as well. But for some reason, Pep hasn't favoured him out there. The reason that I say that could be a possibility is at the moment, Mahrez just hasn't been that great. He doesn't seem to be favouring Mahrez. Mahrez has been benched a lot, brought off early a lot. And Bernardo Silva is decent out there, but I feel like he's better at rotating in that Gundogan role. So I think there is a chance that we see when Foden does come back, him eased back into that right wing role, potentially. That being said, I fully expect Grealish to miss out in 1 or 2 games for the remainder of the season. And I would not be surprised if that is one of the fixtures in Game Week 34. That's the risk you take by bringing in a City player. If you don't want to take that risk, then you don't go for a City player. But it is always a risk. Unless you're bringing in someone like Haaland, but even so, there's still a small risk. You're going to see some rotation, but I think it's worth it. My only concern around Grealish, other than his expected minutes, is I don't think he's a particularly explosive player. Now, we've seen a couple of hauls in recent weeks, but in general, I think he's the sort of player that you'll get the odd assist from here and there, maybe a goal. You're probably looking at a lot of weeks, like a 5, 6, 7 pointer. I don't get the Foden vibe from Grealish, where he's going to go out and get you a hat-trick. Foden is so goal-hungry, greedy, and direct at the box. He runs right at that sort of 6-yard box. He runs at defenders. Grealish is an excellent player, and he's been performing so well for City, tracking back, creating chances. I don't get the vibe that Grealish is going to go out and get you a brace or a hat-trick, ever really, for City. I hope he proves me wrong if I bring him in, but that's my only slight concern. I like to bring in explosive players that can go out and get you a couple of goals. And I know Grealish has got returns in recent weeks, but I don't get the vibe that that's something that he could deliver on a consistent basis. And the data, whilst it has improved in recent weeks, it's still not blowing me away. We're still talking about a 0.5, 0.6 expected goal involvement, which is decent for the price, but is not outstanding. Like at points, we've seen Foden at a 0.8, 0.9 expected goal involvement. And that's kind of what I would be looking for with my City attacker. If I don't go for Grealish, the real option for me is probably Martinelli. My concern with bringing in Martinelli is basically the fixtures and the lack of doubles. There's no more doubles for Arsenal this season. Yes, they don't blank in 32, but I don't care because I'm planning to play my free hit anyway. And the fixtures in and around that aren't great. I've got the fixtures next to me. Obviously, West Ham this week is decent, but then it's City, Chelsea's not terrible, but Newcastle, Brighton, then they finish with Forest and Wolves. But that run of City, Chelsea, Newcastle, Brighton, I know they're not bad fixtures, and Martinelli is a great option. But I think if Grealish starts the majority of those games, I would prefer Grealish over that set of fixtures than I would Martinelli. But I guess I'm about 75% Grealish, 25% Martinelli. They're probably the only 2 players I've considered. I did briefly look at Gundogan in that Maddison role, but in that Maddison position for my team, but his data's not great. Actually, Rodri has a higher expected goal involvement post-World Cup than Gundogan. So I think I'm just remembering the Gundogan of old breaking into the box and scoring goals, but he doesn't seem to be playing that same role this season. So probably Grealish, could be Martinelli. Let's now move over to sort of the transfer plans section where I look at my team for future weeks and see how it's starting to shape up for the back end of the season. So just to finish up, I'm going to briefly look at how the team looks for sort of the next few weeks and my current plans and how it might change over the coming weeks too. So game week 31, let's say I do Maddison's Grealish. I don't think I'll be selling Rashford because the latest news from the press conference is that he could be available for Sevilla next week, which in my opinion, if that is factual from Ten Hag and he's not just playing mind games, then he should comfortably be available for 34, assuming there are no setbacks. But I want to take that risk in holding him, knowing that I might need to sell him in a few weeks anyway. So that's probably the plan. I'll show you in a second why I am slightly tempted to do Martinelli rather than Grealish, but I'll show you that in 2 seconds. So that's 31. 32, I've not really given enough thought yet. I'm going to do that over the weekend leading into next week. This is where I'm going to be free hitting. So the key things for me on this free hit is I want to get triple Arsenal in. At the moment, I've got Jesus, Saka, Martinelli, and I want to get triple Liverpool as well. At the moment, that's Darwin, Salah, and Trent. I don't know exactly which of the triple ups that will be, but I'm almost certain I'll have triple Liverpool and triple Arsenal. At the moment, I've also got Elise in there as a nice cheeky punt because I think Crystal Palace have looked really good under Hodgson, and I just love watching Elise play. I've got Kane in there, but I don't necessarily think he's the best option. You could go for like a Tony or a Watkins instead. I've got double West Ham defence and Gaeta, but this could definitely change, and I'll do an actual draft next week where I talk through some of the options that I'm considering for the free hit. In 33, I obviously get the same team back. This is the week where I'm currently planning on rolling the transfer, just because I think I will need at least 2 free transfers for game week 34, and I'll probably end up taking a hit anyway. If Rashford is still in my team but is still out, and we think there's a chance he's back for 34, well, then that's fine. I can just play Grealish instead. And if I don't want to play Grealish, I can just play Botman, I suppose. So I have options there, and the same with Luke Shaw. Like, I'm just going to scroll down there. You can see Luke Shaw on the bench. I don't need Shaw for game week 33 either. So at the moment, that's the plan. Then going into game week 34, I've got a few different options. So this is the way the team looks without any transfers. I've got my triple Brighton with a double game week. Currently have triple Manchester United with a double, assuming that they're all fit. I've got my double City, Haaland and Grealish. And then the only single game week players I've got is Trippier, Raya and Kane. The reason that I don't like going for Grealish is it pretty much limits me and it doesn't allow me to get Salah, because it probably doesn't make sense to sell any of those 5 midfielders for Salah in game week 34. However, if let's say I actually had Martinelli in that spot, let's say a few weeks ago I actually went for Martinelli rather than Grealish, that would then allow me to get Salah, I should say, and to sell Kane for anyone around 7.5 million. At this stage, it could literally be anyone. It doesn't matter. Just for the sake of it, we'll just put Solanke in. It could be anyone with a double game week or just any single game week striker. And then I could play that player or Watkins instead. So I suppose what I'm saying is Grealish limits me in that I will probably want to hold on to him unless his minutes drastically drop, which probably means I can't get Salah. Martinelli, it does book in a transfer because I will want to sell Martinelli for Salah in 34, but it does give me that route. So I guess it's how much do I want Salah and how much do I think Grealish will outscore Martinelli in the other weeks with the slightly better fixtures. I'm not sure. And at the moment, I know I said I was 75-25. I'm actually probably close to like 70-30. And I'm starting to think that Martinelli, in a week where everyone's going to be jumping on Grealish, could Martinelli be a good alternative against West Ham this week and have him from 33 onwards, for 33, I should say, and then have the option, if I want to sell him in game week 34 for Salah. And then I get Salah for the run-in against Spurs, Fulham, Brentford, Leicester, Villa and Southampton. I need to think about it, but those are the options there. I'm not going to go beyond 34, but let me know down below in the comments, who do you think I should get in that spot for Maddison, Grealish or Martinelli? So guys, there you have it. That is my Game Week 31 team selection. Do make sure to tune into the deadline stream tomorrow. And apologies for the delay in getting this out. I've been in London for a movie premiere and also just to see my mum because it was her birthday. If you want to stay up to date with what I'm doing with my life and behind the scenes and different FPL rants as well, do make sure to follow my Instagram. There are constant updates. I use the story feature a lot and I'm just posting about what I'm doing. So if you want to stay more up to date with that and get different, like I said, FPL rants on the story as well, do make sure to follow my Instagram. I would really appreciate it. There'll be a link down below in the description, or it's just at FPL__Raptor. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. Cheers. Bye-bye.